This is Richard Miller. I'm the founder of Balance Guitar and committed to all things peak performance. And one of the things I'm most committed to is teaching, because I love to learn, and I've learned to guide people in the most effective ways for them to fulfill on their dreams. And so I have this deep commitment to learning. And I'd like to talk today about learning music theory. I don't want to go into whether you need music theory. I'll talk a little bit about that. But what I want to explain is what's the most effective way to go? What should we look for when we embark on this road, on this journey to learn theory so that it serves our music in the best possible way? So the first thing is to learn the theory in the correct order. It's a simple concept will build into complex structures if we learn it in the right order. If we learn it the other way, it becomes very confusing. And so learning in the correct order is very important. For example, if you learn chords before you learn intervals, then it's really confusing. The intervals, the chords are made up of intervals, and that's how we define chords. And so learn intervals first, then learn chords. That's just one example. The second thing that is important when learning theory is to have someone who can show you a clear path through what I call the jungle of music theory, because there's so many little tricks, there's so many patterns, there's so many ways to explain things that everybody has their little way of going about it, and it can get very confusing. And so if you can find someone, a teacher, who can explain the basic principles and how it works, then you don't need to memorize a bunch of tricks and get lost in the maze of our left brain. Now, of course, I'm saying that it's important to have a teacher because, not just that, but a live class, because I believe that it's more important for the teacher to understand the student than for the student to understand the teacher, because the teacher who is generous can explain the same concept in multiple ways and match the learning style of the student. In a live class, whether it's online or in person, a teacher can see if the student grasps it, explain it in a different way, and the student can ask direct questions at the moment. Also, there's this thing of a transmission. So I was teaching a student how to sight read music, and in the teaching, what was transmitted wasn't any kind of knowledge. It wasn't any tricks. It was the confidence that I approached reading a new piece of music. And that's what had the impact on this student. So there's a transmission that happens in person, whether it's virtual or live in person. There's a transmission that happens human to human when both people are generous. The fourth thing is to learn theory and have relevant exercises that brings theory into practice. Because if we just learn theory by itself, it just stays in here in the left brain. It doesn't translate to our playing. And There's this Zen koan that I love that explains, for me, the learning process. And the koan is, first, there is no mountain. Then there is a mountain. Then there is no mountain. So if, like, for example, if we take somebody who fights in the streets, and they just have, they claw and they punch and they kick and they run, and they have this just natural fighting ability. And then they say, oh, I need to learn how to defend myself. So they go to a karate class, and they're back on the street, and they go like this, and they're very stiff. They're trying to apply some theory into how to fight, and they get beat up. That's when they're on top of the mountain. They've learned these things, but it hasn't been brought into the practice. But when they get to the other side and there is no mountain again, then they are back to their natural, spontaneous selves, but now equipped with all these techniques. And that's the learning process for me. So when we learn theory, the people that are in the first stage, there is no mountain, they're often the ones yelling, you don't need theory. I've had it. I've done without it. You don't need theory. You don't need to know the names of the notes. And then the people who have learned all the theory and have it in their left brain don't have it in their body. It's not a visceral knowing. They're the ones that are saying, oh, I know everything and I'm better than you because I know all the modes, and yet you don't see it in their playing. And sometimes the people who have never scaled that mountain are more natural and more spontaneous, and the music flows. So being on the other side, when there again is no mountain, all I have to say is, when you have a tool, you can use it. When you don't have a tool, you can't use it. It's just that simple. And then the fifth thing is, find somebody who teaches you how to learn. For me, the goal of the teacher is to become unnecessary. So when a teacher teaches us how to learn, we become independent learners. And so we need to learn how to apply it to our instrument, how to apply theory to composition in a way that doesn't keep us stiff and theoretical, and also believing in ourselves, so that we're not practicing from a place where we have to prove that we can play it. We're practicing from the stance of a trainer who is training the right brain, or our body or our abdominal brain, however you see it, or our fingers, training that to do complex actions simply and accurately. And so find a teacher who does all that, and you will have an effective path to learn. And one more thing about the live learning, it creates accountability, and it creates a time frame in which you're going to grasp this thing you're studying. So this is Richard Miller. I'm glad you listened. I'd love to hear your comments on everything I just said, and I am committed that people find the joy in their journey and fulfill on their deepest dreams.